now, for your listening pleasure, Reaching for the Bars.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
I did it.
You did it.
I did
I'm
it.
so
Good
proud
job,
of you.
Dusty.
I am
That was
so
probably
proud of you.
the best intro to our podcast.
It's the
yet.
best intro in multiple years.
I mean,
Yeah, I would
maybe
say so.
ever. I don't
Yes,
know. The
probably
first
ever.
one ever was probably
The first two were
Our
pretty
first
good.
podcast was probably the best one we've ever shot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably right.
Audio and
It all sounded pretty good.
We had visual,
Visual.
back then. Yeah. Did we not? I thought we
Oh,
used.
Kinda.
I had like uploaded stuff to YouTube or something.
yeah, that's right. You did cut stuff out.
Dude, it was a nightmare.
It was great. It was great. You
Oh,
guys did a
boy.
great job.
Hey, your flashlight's on.
Thanks, Caleb.
You're welcome.
So I could do stuff, hand stuff.
Yeah,
That's what you were talking about earlier.
that's right.
Caleb, bring us in.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Reaching for the Bars podcast, a special edition.
The specialist edition.
The most special edition.
We don't have any nerdy little hands holding us back anymore right now.
My God. I bet you Andrew's like, he's like, I can't wait to listen to this episode.
I bet he doesn't even listen to it.
Oh, he's going to
Probably
listen.
not.
He's gonna listen. You know he's going to listen. He wants to hear what we say about it. You're the worst.
No. If you haven't figured it out yet, Andrew is not here since he hasn't interrupted any of us yet. He is out in Wyoming climbing the Grand Tetons.
All
So
right, relax. He's hiking the Grand Tetons. It's not, I mean, he's
Oh
walking.
man,
He's
he's
walking
gonna
up a
he's gonna
mountain.
have something to say about that. I mean, immediately. Right
I
on
literally
get.
just watched two people we know. They were like at the Grand Tetons, and they're just like walking. So I mean, Andrew's gonna probably post a picture of him like hanging from something, but you can't see.
But
the
it's
bottom.
like I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it's like,
He's
that's
like,
the best.
Oh, I almost missed the grab. Oh.
I mean, we probably shouldn't joke about it because
Yeah, hopefully you. Do.
I hope you're safe.
Golly, that would be terrible.
Hopefully at this point you're driving home safely in your creepy red Subaru.
That's right.
Yeah.
With only one or two bodies in the back.
Yeah.
And most likely one of them is your buddy.
Yeah. Who tried
All
to
right.
stop you?
Sorry, we'll stop making fun of Andrew.
Will we?
So we have to my right, Mabry Cook.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh,
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
can they see us?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know.
And then to his right, our executive in charge of producing,
Yeah.
Dustin Labar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Waves
You're
to
killing
scrub.
it.
And then I'm here, Mr. Caleb Whitney. Thank you. That's how most people feel.
A big mistake. Let me be in charge of the soundboard.
I
Yep,
mean,
I feel like that's the truth.
Yeah.
remember when he had in charge of the soundboard on the computer?
Yeah, it was
Oh
great.
my goodness.
And his name was Johnson.
Dude, we had to take it away from you.
What was the masturbate?
Oh my god, masturbate.
Nate Bargatze rules in effect. You definitely can't say that. So
Well, I
moving
said
forward,
that.
Yeah, we were having fun.
moving forward.
I was just trying to have
Yeah, man, we're just having
I was
fun.
just trying to be one of the guys.
I
can say it.
anything. Yeah, you can say it.
But it was funny.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
not
fun.
going to right now.
Okay.
Maybe later.
Nate Bargatze rules in effect.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you. So today, Mabry, tell us what we're going to get into today, since you're going to lead the topic.
We are going to get into ancient Egypt. And I'm not going to lead the topic. It's just on the screen.
Oh, dang it.
Did you not even know what it was?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
But I
was
mean,
like,
it is on the screen as well, too. I was
So
like,
we've been talking about it for a week.
Yeah. So one of us has done a lot of research and watching multiple documentaries. I will let you guess who that person is.
I think I've spent over 8 hours this week watching documentaries.
Oh my
the past 2 weeks, I think for sure.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Purely on ancient Egypt, I assume. And
Yes.
then
and some other stuff. Yeah.
I watched the animated movie
Thief
Prince
and
of
the
Egypt.
Cobbler?
No, Prince of Egypt.
Is the Thief and the Cobbler in Egypt?
No,
Where is he at?
probably like Saudi Arabia or
That's
something.
racist.
Something like that. But I think it's a made up place, but it'd be something like
Yeah.
Iraq, something.
Yeah, it's some made up place like Afghanistan or something.
Doesn't even exist.
that. Where's Aladdin?
Agrabah,
Agrabah.
which is a real place.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Which is in Egypt.
Agrabah, Egypt. Yeah.
That's why he went into that the tomb. Didn't they go into
The lion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lion.
The sand lion.
yeah.
You seen on the new live action like part of it. It kind of makes sense, but like he's like becomes the prince, and they're like, "Oh, you're the prince of this place," and they had to like make up a place, and like Will Smith is like, "Yeah," and they make it appear on the map, and you know, how would you not know that a place is not? But I guess back then people.
Oh,
like,
he invented a place.
Right.
genie.
Yeah, the
Oh,
genie.
people didn't know anything.
But people, I was going to say, but back then, like, you could get away with that. Nowadays, people are like, wait a second.
Wait,
So
it's-
ignorant.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's he. Yes, it is he.
Alibaba.
Alibaba.
He's on.
Dun, 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 dun.
What is it? Where's he the prince?
Oh,
boy.
Yes, it's
Who?
he. Okay, anyway, so we're going to talk about ancient Egypt.
Oof, got off on a tangent
so-
early on.
So
Basically, I did a very minute bit of research on like basically a timeline of what ancient Egypt was, and Dusty is going to
I'll interject when needed.
give us plenty of
Yeah.
useful information about ancient Egypt. I assume, right?
Yeah. When the woke left ideologies try to come out, I'll make sure that they get fixed.
Our source is ducksters.com.
It's
It is ancient Egypt for children. So
That's, I mean, in my mind, we have the knowledge of infants in this subject. So
I mean,
maybe
two
you
of us
guys-
do.
Maybe you guys.
maybe us.
Yeah, I'm gonna blow your mind on the first one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
He's already gonna
Yeah.
break this. So anyway, whenever historians talk about ancient Egypt, they talk about it in basically two different formats, where you have dynasties, which is, I mean, what we all think of dynasties,
Mm-hmm.
basically one family passing rule.
rule,
Yeah,
like RULE.
Yeah.
Rule.
I can't pronounce ours.
I thought you were about to say rural. I was
Rural.
Like, no, it's not rural.
Yeah.
It's a city.
Rule. From one family to the next. And then they also talk about kingdoms and periods, where like basically one kingdom is in a rule, and then they might switch as far as this family had a rule, and then it ended that period, and then now this family took control.
gotcha.
Do they call it dynasties, or is that more of a
No, they-
Asian
they,
thing?
They call it dynasties.
Call it dynasty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's racist.
What I mean,
Didn't
think about.
I just talk about dynasties?
Oh,
What were you
did you
doing
say
over
that?
here?
He just fact checked you and he had no idea. He was like, "Do they really call them dynasties, Caleb? Do they
Dynasty.
really?"
I'm just trying to think of an Egyptian dynasty.
Well, Caleb's about to tell us about it.
I know.
Caleb, scroll back up real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. So there.
He
so,
just wants to say
so
something.
they say there's 3 kingdoms, right?
Oh boy.
And
Yes,
they're not
they-
sure who built the pyramids. But did you know that there's hundreds of years of they don't have any account. So in between the first kingdom and the second kingdom, there's like 300 years of like untraceable information. They don't know what happened during those time periods.
Well, I mean,
And
out
then-
of 3,000 years of
And then, well, how do they know about the first one? But how do they know about the first one, but not the stuff between the first and the second? That doesn't make sense. And then between the second and the third, there's like 300 more years of they're like, we don't really know what happened here, but we definitely know that these guys built the pyramids for sure.
maybe they just kind of live their lives, you know?
Well,
Maybe they're just like didn't have.
Maybe it was like
anybody that
day
could
to
write
day
for a while.
You know how we are?
what?
You know how we are?
Who?
Like the United States. We go day-to-day business.
And then we just leave out 300 years of our
And
history.
then in future years, like, I don't know, like 3,000 years later, they're like, oh, we don't remember what happened from 2018 to 2000.
23, 30.
Yeah.
Nope, we don't know what happened in those 300 years. Probably nonsense. I mean, the United States isn't even 300 years old.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they're saying a time period that is just non-existent. They're like, we don't know what happened.
That's
Maybe
true.
it's
Does that not worry you?
Not really. no.
Okay.
I
well,
mean,
that's
it's the
weird.
history.
Why would it worry me?
Because they don't even know. They're just claiming that these people built the pyramids. They don't even know what happened. And who built them? We don't know.
Maybe
Maybe
they had some
Egyptians.
stuff going on. They're like, we shouldn't.
We shouldn't tell
anybody.
people about it?
Yeah. Or maybe it's like the lost scrolls of Cleopatra and all that stuff.
What is that? That
It's
seems like
myths,
did you make this up?
No, it's like an
This is
ancient
coming
myth.
from Mommies, the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, that's right. No, like there's like ancient scrolls that apparently have been lost, and people like hid them. Like Alexander the Great, like took stuff and like hid it away.
Yeah,
How
do
do you
you-
know these documents weren't hidden away in someone's
Do you
like?
know what for real
tomb?
happened?
Oh my god.
Do you know what for real happened? The
Wait.
Romans came in and burnt the Alexandria Library.
Oh,
It had like all of Egyptian history.
well, that,
And they burnt
there's the
it all.
answer right there.
But how do they know about the first stuff, but not the stuff in between?
Well, maybe
It's
they
'cause
had
they
other
burnt
copies
only
of the
those
other stuff.
specific
Maybe
years.
that year they only had one copy of it.
So you're telling me Okay, we'll move on to the next thing because I'm gonna strangle you.
So anyway, there were over 30 dynasties throughout the Egyptian rule, and one might think that's not very many, but understand this is over a 3,000-year span of them, of their kingdoms and rules, dynasties.
Yeah, and just sometimes you don't know about 300 or 600 years of stuff that's going on. It's fine.
When there's 3,000 of them, I mean, you gotta mix it up.
30 dynasties, not as many. I guess. I think there would be more, but I don't know. I guess.
Wait, can I ask a question? Why did you think there would be more than 30 dynasties?
I don't know. I guess it just seems like doesn't seem like that's like a long period to hold a dynasty for 30,000 years.
No, 3,000. Not
3,000.
Not
I
30,000.
thought you said 30. I was like,
Did I say 30?
No, I don't think so.
I was like, geez. I mean, that's
Where you at right now, man?
I'm
You all right?
tired. Did a workout.
Neighbor's like, God, 30,000 years. That's amazing. Can you believe they built the pyramids over 1 million years ago?
Anyway, so the early dynasties 1 through 3, took place in 2950 to 2575 BC. BC obviously standing for
Before Christ.
The new thing to say is BCE, which is
before Christ
the
existed.
Common Era.
Oh.
Actually, they should use that.
Before Christ existed.
It's before Common Era.
Oh,
What does that mean?
But Common Era is 0, I guess, and then
But
AD.
where's Common Era?
I'm telling
I
you,
guess with
guess
Christ.
it's 0.
But I'm saying, like, what does
Whatever.
that mean?
I guess when Christ was born.
Right. So
They're still using the same.
before
Oh, they're trying to get rid of Christ.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
Dude, has
Because
any
if someone said to you before Common Era, you'd be like, well, when did the Common Era start?
0?
But like, well, when's 0? There had to be some significant fact to where it started.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, before Christ.
Has Christianity has won everything. We'll just go off their
Everything.
Yeah, I mean,
The Jews are like, excuse me, and we're like, shut up. It's year 1 now.
that's right.
What's because? Never mind.
Okay. I feel like what you were about to say was going to be awesome, and I wish you would finish it.
Well, I'm just saying, the United States is one nation under God,
That's right.
and we had to come to rescue the Jews from Germany.
That's right.
So basically, our God is the Christianity is
Are you saying that
the best
Christianity?
religion.
Are you saying that
Christianity rescued
the
them.
Jews?
I'm saying that Christianity is number 1 for a reason. You know?
Because of all the
No.
murders they committed during the
Number
Crusades?
one.
Number one.
Can we search how many
I
people
mean,
got killed during the
there's
Crusades?
bad people in the world. That
Yeah,
We'll
doesn't
keep
mean-
going. We'll keep
There's good and bad
That doesn't
people.
mean
This is a topic for another podcast.
Yeah. Or probably never one.
So the first pharaoh of Egypt, I'll probably pronounce his name wrong, but Menes.
I'm going to say Menes.
Menes?
Menes. Let's go with Menes.
What'd you say the first time?
Menes.
I don't remember.
Almost like Muniz, but Menes.
Menes.
You said something that sounded familiar.
Menes?
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 Like mayonnaise?
No, Menes sounds like it's
Menes.
ancient. It's probably
Menes, though, sounded like this. I feel like you have heard that.
Okay.
I feel like it needs like a little
Anyway.
thing on top of the E.
It's
Menes.
Menes.
Menes united the upper and lower part of Egypt into one civilization. And he put the capital, this is my favorite part, he put the capital in between the two lands, and he called it Memphis.
Let's go.
So Memphis, Tennessee.
Were they known for their ribs?
They're known for their blues music and their ribs.
Yeah, the Egyptians did play some good music. What
What instrument were you playing?
Little banjo.
They had banjos back then? Oh, interesting.
Maybe.
All right, Caleb, I'm loving it. Keep rolling, dude.
Yeah, so.
I'm more familiar with the 4th dynasty, so just keep rolling.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm very, okay. So near the end of this period, it is the start of the Old Kingdom, what historians would call the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom was whenever the first pyramid is being built by the pharaoh
Dozier.
Dozier.
I just watched a documentary on this. So
Okay.
It's Dozier.
So what? So did they just like number the dynasties? Like I see that the era had names like Old Kingdom, but did they like you hear the Ming Dynasty? Did the dynasties have names?
Oh, I don't know if that's
think-
true. I think they numbered them.
Yeah, they numbered
that's what
them.
I was saying. Like like Asian dynasties had like the names.
Name
behind them.
another one besides the Ming Dynasty.
I don't know what was Genghis. That's all I got really. But I got
You just were like,
that's
one
one more.
the Ming Dynasty or
But that's one more.
Which
that's-
one?
Shen dynasty?
That's one more than the Egyptian dynasties I can name.
So this is true. I will say this is okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh my
did-
God, are you fact checking?
He did build the first pyramid, but
Oh boy.
it was
There's
a
a-
step pyramid. So the way they used to bury the people was in like these, I forget what the name of them was. They were basically these big rectangles. And he was like, what if you build a bunch of rectangles on top of each other? So it was like a big rectangle, then a smaller rectangle, then a smaller rectangle. Then a
So
smaller
he was-
Sarcophagus?
What?
A sarcophagus? You
No.
said
No,
that's not
not
what you're
that.
saying. Okay.
No,
So-
they called him something different.
I got you.
So he was basically like, I'm just a stupid reference, but Seinfeld, and you know the episode with Kramer, and he's like, I'm just gonna have levels.
That's
In line.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think, well, they thought that the closer, like, so he was going to be buried, and then like the closer you were to the sun god, the better it was. So that because you're basically like reborn every day.
Yeah.
With the sun
He's
god.
like, I'm getting
They
pretty
based-
old. We're gonna need at least 200 more people to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Could
I
you
mean-
imagine like the guys that are working on that stuff? They're like, he's like, hey, I just want to start building my my burial chamber, and they're like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll just build the normal, small, super small, low to the ground. He's like, what if we built one like super high? And they were like, high, like how high? He's like, I don't know, like 10 times that high. And they were like, but we're just men, we can't do it. He's like, you know what? Do it. And then just walks off and like waits for these sad Jews to go ahead and just take care of it.
So like, my God, what are we gonna do?
The architect. Did you hear about this in your documentaries? The architect for the first pyramid.
Can I say that they considered him a god, basically?
Is he an
Oh, they do.
Uh-huh.
Is he an alien?
No, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll get into it. You have to drink, because if I can't bring up aliens, you can't bring up aliens.
No, there was no rule about me not bringing up aliens.
It's not fair.
I
I could have brought aliens up 5 times already.
I know. I'm just saying. Like,
Oh,
it's
did we make
I'm-
this a rule where you're not allowed to bring up it? Not allowed to
if
bring
it's
up?
if I
out
don't,
of
if
con-
I
he
bring it
gets
up
like
out
a-
of context,
Yeah, he gets a little bit of leeway with like he can get it in there.
Well, we're talking
No,
about pyramids
I
right
can-
now.
I can poke that bear a little bit to try to get you to fall for the traps. That's
well, let's keep going.
part of the rules.
How do you
know too
pronounce
much.
his name?
Let me see.
I'm
I'm in Hotep.
yeah, sure.
I'm a Hotep.
Isn't that
I'm
like
Hotep.
what was the guy on Mummy? No, the movie. but-
Brendan Fraser.
No,
Oh.
the Mummy's guy. It was something like Hotep. I don't know.
I don't know.
You nailed it, dude. You're like
Hotep.
Ming Dynasty and Hotep.
Hotep.
Crushing it.
Anyway, so the 4th dynasty begins with the end of the beginning of the Old Kingdom, and this is whenever the Great Pyramids of Giza, and Sphinx are built. This is often called the Age of the Pyramids. The 4th dynasty is a time of peace and also a time when the sun god Re. I think that's
Ra.
funny.
It is
Ra?
Ra.
Is it Ra?
It's
Ra.
Ra. No, wait. It's
Why did
Ray.
I put an E at the end
I
of
think
it?
it's Ray.
Is it Ray?
Maybe Ray.
Who's Ra? Is that a different
Ra.
one?
I think it's just like your pronunciation. It may be Ra.
There
It
is.
depends
I
on
think
your
maybe it's
accent.
Ra.
There's definitely a sun god Ra, but it might not be Egyptian. But that
But
seems like a
anyway,
weird-
he is a prominent in the Egyptian religion.
Yeah. So
He.
go ahead. He. Do you use they?
So
They, them.
the sphinxes. What are they like? I know. Are they supposed to be like? I've always wondered that. Are they cats? Are they what? Are like? What's the thing there?
Okay.
I was really
He
asking
did
you.
this.
I'm glad.
I don't know.
But now I see that I've
I
asked
don't
Dusty
know.
and a feeling of regret has shot through my body.
So you know the Sphinx has been fixed multiple times.
Right.
So
I have heard that.
do you understand that Egyptologists are like
I don't even know if that's a word.
it is it's a profession.
Oh,
It's a
Egyptologists?
profession.
They're like
Egyptologists.
historians just on Egypt?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So Egyptologists
Egypt
say
is
that
pretty cool.
say that there was no so that it's been eroded and then fixed and they fixed it and like obviously some guy was like fix it. Cats are regal to the Egyptians.
Right.
So it's supposed to look like a cat.
That's what. Yeah.
But they fixed it or reshaped it. But the conspiracy is that people are like, oh, it's just wind damage. But there's some pretty good studies that is water damage and that there was a huge amount of water
Oh.
running through Egypt.
We've talked about this
And
before.
they said if you held 2 pictures of the upper half and the lower half and you showed them to what's the guy that looks at rocks? A rockologist.
Geologist?
Yeah.
I like how you just. Did you believe that was the right word? Or did you just keep it?
I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna see what these guys. If you both were like, yep,
I was like-
rockologist. He got us with the Egyptologist thing, so I'm just gonna. So anyway, if you show them pictures and you're like, is one of a close up? If you're like, which one of these is water damage? They'd be like that one. And then which one's wind damage? They like that one. And then they zoom out and they're like, it's the same structure. They're like, nope, not possible. So they don't believe that any water rushed through there. But there's pretty good information. And this is the other thing, is that they're trying to date these things when they were actually built.
Yeah.
But they're dated. People will be like, oh, it was built, we carbon dated certain things. But you can't carbon date rock, because if you carbon dated rock, it would be like it's 100 million years old.
Right.
Because it was created 100 whatever.
Right.
And
they didn't create the rock to build the structure.
They're looking at like they try to look at like the material that's in it that's not rock, and they're like, well, that could have been put there during any reconstruction of it, any fix. Somebody could have put a piece of wood in there, and you can carbon date that wood. So they think it's far older than it is.
That's so crazy they did that. They're like, you know what we need right now?
So they think
they
it was
must not have much going on.
Dude, Egyptian pharaohs clearly suck. They're like, build me a cat. They're like, sure, out of what? Huge giant rocks. Wait.
What are you thinking?
Yeah,
he's like,
nope. I don't know. Like almost to the sun.
Was it? Is there? All right. I know I'm opening a can of worms here.
Go ahead, Caleb.
I saw something to where it's like a conspiracy theory that like the Egyptians actually, like you talked about it, there was a massive body of water.
Yeah.
And their actual like empire was like the original like Atlantis or something like that. Basically, so like they were like underwater, and that's how they were able to develop all these different things.
No.
And then it dried up and it became this desert. But I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
Let me tell you exactly what happened. I'm glad that I brought this up. They think that Atlantis.
Man, the way you're getting situated.
They think that Atlantis.
The way he's getting situated in
They
this
think
seat.
that Atlantis was in Africa, something called the reshot structure. If you want to search it, you can search it. It's a real thing. I don't know how you spell it, but it's a reshot circle.
I believe you.
Or the reshot structure. But basically, what people are saying is there's the reason we don't have information on when this stuff was, or we don't have any idea what's going on.
And you're talking about the Egyptian structures?
The Egyptian
or
structures.
the reshot structure?
The reshot structure is different than that.
That's what I'm saying. Which one are you talking about?
Egyptians.
Okay.
So that there is potential that this stuff is much older than we think, and that there was many meteor impacts around 11,500 years ago that basically wiped out civilization down to almost nothing. So that's why we don't know how they built any of this stuff, because we're like, if you really think about it, so I'm going to try to say something and you may not understand it. Some of those stones and some of these big things are 900 tons.
Right.
That's like
a lot.
How big?
Yeah, that's an
so they're
unbelievable
saying
amount.
When you're like,
what's a car?
when you're like 2,000 pounds,
That's
one ton.
A big truck, yeah.
So they're like, well, yeah, they just put it on a raft and floated it down. What raft? The only raft they've ever found in Egypt is like this piece of crap wooden boat. And you're like, you floated that down? They're like, well, they just put ropes on it and they pulled it up there. And you're like, they've never learned to pull it up there. That's what they did. And they're like, we're pretty sure that's how they did it.
It's like men were 40 times stronger.
Dude, I mean, so that's like the big like conspiracy theory is that a lot of these megalithic structures that we don't know how they built them is because basically it reset civilization. We don't know how they did it. If you want to know something really crazy, they think the technology they use, so they quarried these stones.
Right.
So they cut them.
Because the angles and stuff are so sharp.
It's so perfect. So they think they had some kind of technology that was either like sound waves or like some kind of molecular technology that would change the structure of the rock to be able to, because like some of their
to make it precise
to even move it.
Oh, okay.
So like if you find a frequency that you can move it, you can move it, but they haven't figured it out yet, because there's like scoop marks in some of the quarries, and they're like, where did the scoop mark? Like, how is it a perfect scoop? And they can't figure out how it got there. It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
So, aliens probably helped. That's topical.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Be careful though.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, back to the timeline.
Yeah.
The Old Kingdom comes to an end with the 7th and 8th dynasties. This is when there's a weak government begins to collapse, and the Old Kingdom is a time of poverty and famine.
Yeah. People just do not appreciate a good government anymore.
So anyway, they had this nice little intermittent period where the Egyptians split back into two separate countries whenever the Old Kingdom ended. And then after that period. So that period was from 2150 BC to 1975 BC, not 1975. Like
Yeah, gotcha.
AD.
Yeah.
Right. BC.
Yeah.
But and then in 1975,
double the time that way.
Yeah.
in 1975, the pharaoh. Oh boy.
Mentuhotep.
Yeah, I like it.
Hotep.
Mentuhotep the second reunites.
The first one sucked. Sometimes the sequel's better.
Yeah.
That's right. But he reunited the two countries, or two, whatever you want to call them, kingdoms, and then they moved the royal tombs to the north near the city of Memphis, and the Egyptians started to use irrigation to carry water from the Nile River to their crops.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. What a great idea.
To irrigate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I mean, for them back then, that's like, I mean, I'm sure whoever came up with that, they
I
were
wonder
like,
what they were doing before.
spitting on it.
Probably a lot of.
Like, all right, take a mouthful of that Nile water, you run it back and you spit it on the plants.
You know what's crazy is like back then, like they have all those slaves and stuff. Like you literally I feel like you become not creative. Yeah. You become not creative when it's just like, man, if there's only a way to get water from the river to the crops, make the slaves do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll just make them do it.
That's probably, yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, eventually they were like, man, a lot of these guys are dying.
I mean, look at,
like,
all right, this is going to sound bad, but look at farming.
oh, yeah, that's
And,
right.
Like
How much
like,
it's revolutionized. Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Eli Whitney, cotton gin.
Yeah.
Your great grandfather.
Great.
Great grandfather.
I'm not related to Eli Whitney,
Yeah,
even though it would be kind of cool.
you are. I did your 23andMe.
How'd you get my?
Don't worry.
If you adopt Eli from the gym, he could be Eli Whitney.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm gonna adopt a 22-year-old man.
He needs it.
I mean, that's the best kind of kid to adopt. He's pretty much
Yeah, he is
on his own now.
self-sufficient.
I
And
mean,
if he
yeah.
gets famous for some reason, you get that money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
It was
that's
still
a-
win-win.
I mean, that's
you don't
true.
really have to take care of him at all.
Yeah.
But he's going to be much easier than Penelope.
Yeah, I mean that's
Penelope's got a lot more work.
He goes to the bathroom in the toilet. I've
Yeah,
seen
I mean,
it. Yeah.
Hey, she's
Not in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I assume that he's going in there.
Well,
just in the toilet. That's
I can't.
not always in the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't be 100% accurate all the time.
it's pretty close. At least he's in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything on the crops? No.
I don't
mean,
really care about the crops, but
What?
there was a funny thing about. I was watching a documentary. They were trying to like skirt around the fact that they were slaves. They were like they weren't exactly slaves. Like they may have like drafted for them and they weren't allowed to leave. But they there's a lot of research that shows that they they could have they were allowed to leave. But they were not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're just trying to say slave.
If they left, they died. Basically.
Yeah, they just got killed if they left. But they're not slaves.
Yeah.
And they didn't get paid.
Yeah.
Yes. Cheapest labor.
But anyway, it sounds like the Middle Kingdom didn't do a whole lot besides the crops,
Stupid
the
idiots.
irrigation system,
Yeah, they're just like chilling out.
because they came to an end at 1640 BC,
It's still like a lot of years.
and then we went
years.
into the second intermittent period, and they separated again.
Dang.
It's a lot of, but during this,
Every time something bad happens, you're just like, that's it, we're splitting up. Cut it in half.
I mean, back then, like what Alexander the Great did was so cool. Like, you're just going trying to conquer new lands and like people like separate and stuff like. To me, that blows my mind. That'd be fun. Like if America and Mexico and Canada were always like fighting for land and stuff, that would be like what would the
this is
world be like?
ours.
Like my thing is you're not really worried about some of the stuff we're worried about if Mexico's trying to take over Texas right now. I mean, you can say what you want to, but like we got different priorities on everybody's mind.
I'll tell you what, Mexico would have a hard time taking over Texas. It'd be a problem.
it would be
It wouldn't be easy.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I mean I think America would come out
People
on top. Right
people
now.
don't get to just take land anymore because it's so like
Dude, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's what
like
I'm saying,
literally
like,
today. Because it's like that never, why aren't we trying to get more
because
land?
it's freaking the nuke thing now. So, I'll press it.
Well, Mexico doesn't have any nukes.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying they're not the only.
But do we really want like
Yeah, I was
Mexico's
gonna say, I
land?
don't
Like it's
think-
not. There's not a whole
I
lot
don't
of
think
crops.
we're.
and stuff
I
like
don't
that.
think we're going after Mexico or Canada right now.
Well, we have to go on touching land.
We
you can't.
we could
Yeah.
we could go after Canada to get to another.
That's
like,
true.
Another country.
but there's nothing touching, right?
But like, it's like what's the point? Because as soon as you get to Russia, it's gonna be like no one's gonna make a move because who's gonna press the button?
But also like if you have so much land to govern, then it becomes another issue. Like
Yeah.
that's too much land under one control, right?
I'm not trying to get political here, but our president can barely govern.
Sure. Yeah.
Govern his.
Did you see Mitch McConnell have a freaking stroke?
Bro, what are they doing up there? Hey man, what are we doing voting these people?
Dude, I was like,
They're
oh my
buying
God,
stocks.
he's
I
dead.
mean, he's like,
he came back out.
he had a malfunction. I was like,
he came back out and he was like, everything's totally cool. Nobody needs to worry. I was like, dude just had a stroke.
I mean, it's concerning.
He was like,
Those are the people running our government, and as you can see from this, government's pretty important.
Well, I mean,
If-
the government collapsed and they
if crap hits the fan in America,
oh
we go to Texas immediately. Texas is seceding for sure.
Oh,
They're breaking apart, but I'm heading to Texas.
I see what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
or in the opposite direction, California.
I'm not going to California.
No.
Oh.
What I'm saying is in the opposite like political views and everything like that, California will secede. and
I'll be
get-
honest with you. California can succeed whatever they
Nobody-
want. I mean, they can. I mean, if they want to, we'll cut them off the country.
There's-
How big of a drill do we need? We'll push them out in the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I saw a reel the other day of a American showing a European a map of the United States. He's like, and this is my map of my country, and it doesn't have California on it. He's like, what about California? He's like, no, this is
this
is
is
right. This is it. But,
Yes,
all right.
this is
Anyway,
it.
that's off topic a little bit. During this period of the second
Intermediate.
intermediate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The horse and chariot are introduced.
Ooh,
So-
now we're getting fun.
Now we're getting to the gladiator.
Now you can start killing people.
Not really.
I think they were looking more for transportation, but like we were.
That doesn't make any sense.
Spikes with wheels, that type of
Yeah,
Uh,
chariots.
okay.
wheels with spikes. Not
I
spikes
have
with
so
wheels.
many things I want to say, and I keep stopping myself because I'm going to wait for this list to be done. Then we can, because I want you to Google search a bunch of stuff, and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, this doesn't make any sense. We got to let Caleb.
Sorry.
Let Caleb get through.
I was
Don't
kinda
say
thought
sorry,
you
this
would-
is on me.
Oh, I thought you would just interrupt while I'm going
well,
through
I
all this.
am, but I also want to learn.
Yeah.
So I'm having fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool right there.
So anyway, chariots exist now. Fun fact. And then the New Kingdom starts. So in 1520 BC, the
Let's
New
go.
Kingdom begins.
That's a
The New Kingdom is a time of great prosperity for the ancient Egyptian civilization. During this time, the pharaohs conquer the most lands, and the Egyptian empire reaches its total peak during this New Kingdom period.
Let's go.
So, Amhouse the first reunites the kingdoms, and then Tuthmosis
Tuthmosis? That's the worst name.
the first becomes pharaoh.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, go ahead.
He's the first to be buried in the Valley of the Kings. For the next 500 years, this will be the main burial area
Dude,
for the royal Egyptians.
This is the most banana thing ever. So everybody thinks that the kings were buried in
Sarcophagus.
The tombs.
pyramids.
Oh,
Right. Like, did you think that's where they were buried? Like if I was
pyramids.
like,
Yeah.
who was in
I
the
thought they were in the
Yeah.
pyramids.
You thought they were in the
Each king
pyramids?
had their own pyramid, right?
No.
Oh.
So, dude, the Valley of the Kings is just this huge giant valley, and they have all these. It's basically like they've dug underground, and that's where they're buried with all their riches and
I
treasures.
thought they wanted to be close to the sun god.
Well, I
that
think they
different
just keep-
period,
Well,
right?
actually, it's really funny.
Different period.
Amenhotep
Yeah.
actually changes his name. Oh, so it says right there, Amenhotep changes the religion of the country.
Oh yeah.
He's like
What religion were they?
they
Multiple
they
gods.
like multiple gods,
Right.
and he was like, I like the sun god best. We just do the sun god now.
Yeah.
And so he was married to Cleopatra, or not Cleopatra. Who's the other really famous, the most beautiful?
Oh, Aphrodite?
No.
No, that's the.
Most beautiful.
Like she was like considered the most beautiful woman. Like it's like
no.
not Cleopatra,
I was
but
thinking of Helen of Troy. That's not.
no.
I was thinking of that. Oh no.
She's
wait.
if I said her name, I can't remember her name. Search Egyptian.
I feel like Cleopatra's
It's not
definitely the most
Cleopatra.
famous.
It's not Cleopatra. It's Amenhotep wife. No,
Her
it's not.
name is.
He had a bunch of wives. Dang it.
Her name
did
is
have a bunch of
Anato's
wives.
Wife number 4.
Keep going.
Here's all the name of it.
Search most famous Egyptian queen. I can't even believe I can remember this.
Cleopatra's gonna.
It's
pop
gonna be
up.
Cleopatra.
Most famous Egyptian queen.
I mean, there's no way it's not Cleopatra.
Egyptian. Look, Egyptologist. Look at that.
Oh.
Egyptian queens. Just pop right up. Egyptian queens. Nefertiti.
Oh, okay.
Nefertiti. She's considered like, because they have like statues of
Definitely
her.
know that name.
They have statues of her, and there she was beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was like, I don't like the other god stuff. We're going to change it to sun god, and then we're just going to move the capital city to somewhere else. And so he was like widely not disliked. Like people did not like
that
him.
seems like that.
Because everybody was like, but we like the other gods. And he was like, you like the sun god now.
Yeah.
And
That's
everybody was
it,
like,
huh? So what do they do with the other gods at that point?
What's that?
Do they
I think
still
they were just like
acknowledge
lower
them?
gods.
Okay.
And then the Ra was like the. So he changed his name to Akhman Ra, which is
honor.
to honor the sun god. And
Honor the sun god or honor himself.
and so as soon as he died, they switched back. Like as soon as he was dead. But the Valley of the Kings.
It was his son that actually switched him back.
Yeah, and you'll know his son, King Tut.
Oh.
So
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I hope so because I have a lot of stuff on King Tut.
Okay.
Anyway, so the Valley of the Kings, that's where they're excavating like right now. Like they just constantly keep finding new burial chambers with all these dudes and all their riches. Cool. And
do they bury their wives with them?
No, they're like, we don't want this.
Where did they put the?
What's that?
Never mind.
In the dumpster. I'm just joking. Nefertiti may have been the only like pharaoh of Egypt female. She like may have ruled for a couple months. They're not
Cleopatra.
Sure. No. Cleopatra never ruled as a pharaoh. She was the queen.
Oh, as a pharaoh. She was a queen.
She was the actual pharaoh.
Okay.
Oh.
Cleopatra,
Wait, is that
like
legit or is that a conspiracy theory?
well, they don't know because they can't find the information because it's really hard to like decipher. But they think that there's a potential that she was possibly a pharaoh for a few months.
What's the difference between a pharaoh and a king?
The pharaoh is the Egyptian king.
A queen's just be like the first lady.
Oh, so Cleopatra was just the first lady.
Yeah,
that's right.
Cleopatra ran off with like we'll look it up after this is over. Cleopatra ran off with some dude and it caused a big war.
This is funny to me. Ramses the second becomes pharaoh. He ruled for 67 years, and they just like built many monuments.
Nice, good job, dude.
Dude, he made a ton of stuff that looked like him. He was like, I'd like me everywhere. And they were like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. And they were like, how tall? He's like, well, way taller than I am. Maybe 3 times the height that I am. And they were like, we're so sick of building rock stuff. Can you give us something else, man? He's like, no, it's got to be rock.
2,000 years we've been building stuff.
Do you
out
know
of
that
rocks.
the pyramids were totally smooth with limestone? Like they weren't, you know how it looks rocky and rough?
Right.
It was totally smooth, like smooth as glass with limestone. And
That's
then,
cool.
do you know where it went?
Where'd it go?
They stole it. People just took it. They were like, this is mine now.
And
And they just broke it up. And then some people took it to build other cities in Egypt. They were just like, it's already here. We'll just take it. So it showed the rock underneath. That's why it's all jagged, yeah.
Okay.
You're not as excited about that as I thought. I thought you were going to be like, what? Flat like glass.
How did they do it?
Birds would run into
How
it all
did
the
they
time.
move the stone?
Yeah.
That wasn't like clear like glass. Caleb's like, Caleb go home to Rachel. He's like, did you know that you used to be able to see through the pyramids? They were totally translucent. Rachel's like, that doesn't sound right. He's like, no, Dusty said it. And he's done a lot of research. I think he would know. Anyway,
Rachel
a lot
would
of
be
birds
like,
he's like, over 1 million birds died running into the
They never talk
Fun
about
fact for y'all.
They never talk about how many birds died.
It was a travesty. They had to just take it off. So because the birds were dying.
Because the birds kept dying.
Those poor birds.
They couldn't keep up with it.
Yep. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, the new kingdom comes to an end. They're back to their full amount of gods at this point.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be. I know they didn't decide the name, but in the intermediate periods, they're like first intermediate, second intermediate, third intermediate period. I want to be in the old kingdom, new kingdom,
old
late
kingdom's
period.
better.
Like, I mean, that just feels like welcome to the mediocre kingdom. Like, oh God.
Well, you know they didn't name it like back then.
And that's what I just said.
Oh.
I said I know they didn't choose this name.
I
I was
got what
like,
you're saying.
but I was like,
I got what
man,
you're
I don't
saying.
want to be in that.
I got what you're
You know,
saying.
yeah.
I thought you meant like
So-
somebody was like, you guys are the intermediate.
No,
And they're
no.
like, oh man, but we're pretty good. They're like, nah.
If these people got to name it, I mean, they would have been
like,
like,
I think-
crazy
they're like,
names.
man, I think something better's coming. I'm gonna call you intermediate.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you think right now we're in an intermediate period in America?
Oh, dude, I think we're gonna be.
Well, I
They're
think
gonna
it's
talk
not-
about us a lot.
It's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
In
Can you
American
believe-
history, they're gonna be like the forefathers, pretty awesome. Then we had some pretty cool stuff go on. Then we dropped a bomb. That was pretty cool. And there was like this time from like the 80s to the 2020s. It was a nightmare. We're going to call that the intermediate period.
The first intermediate period.
That's right. We are. Yeah, we're
I
there.
can't wait to be like 80 years old, and actually it'd probably be more like when I'm 90 years old, and my grandkids are like, Grandpa, like, what was it like? And I'm gonna be like, how I'm old and frail and have trouble remembering things right now. Like, like, that's what our president was like.
Oof, that's a rough realization.
Yeah.
He's a nightmare. Did you see what Roger Stone said?
No.
He said that Biden won't run again. They'll put Kamala in, but they'll want to replace her because she has terrible ratings. And the only person that can replace a woman of color as president is another woman of color, and they're going to try to put Michelle Obama in charge.
But she's basically, never mind.
Obama 2.0.
Yeah, she's a man.
Let me tell you this. If it's Kamala or Michelle, sign me up for Michelle.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. At this point, I'll take almost anybody over.
Let's be honest. I'm be honest. Obama's running the country anyways.
I mean, dude.
Through Joe Biden.
I mean, Joe Biden. Joe Biden can't do anything right now. They're just like, put him out there, let him say whatever crazy nonsense he's gonna say, and then we'll
fix it later.
Did you see that they're like
cancer?
Did you see?
Why'd you cure cancer, Joe? Because they said I couldn't.
Yeah.
Has he cured cancer? Can you imagine being in that room?
Dude, for sure he's gonna say something like,
"Have we missed the?"
He's like, the vaccine will cure cancer, and everybody's like, Mr. President, Mr. President. And he's like, one time when I was in Pennsylvania, he said,
they're probably always
anyway, just come on, man.
They're probably always like, hey, don't take any questions. And then one time he's gonna be like, say something outrageous, and he's like, questions, please, questions. And then they just get hammered.
Dude,
He's gonna be like, we haven't had as many cardiac arrests from the vaccine as they said there would be.
What? My gosh. Dude, I don't even know if he can say that right now.
LeBron James' son, just had that cardiac.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's the vaccine.
My favorite thing that's happened. My favorite thing that's happened recently is, have you guys seen it where they ask the press secretary what whose cocaine it was?
Oh, God.
And she was like, they were like, will you just say if it was the Biden families? And she was like, that's irresponsible. That's an irresponsible question. I was like, in my head, I was like, you telling me that you found cocaine in the White House and you're like, don't ask whose it was.
They're like, we don't even know how it got here.
Yeah,
and then that lady in Alabama who faked her kidnapping, they're like, we found her. She's walking out of the store with a wig. 3 hours before this, we saw her doing this. I mean, dude, they tracked that. They went back and found all this information to show that she was faking it.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
And you can't tell me whose cocaine
that
was.
They're like, we found a pound of cocaine in the White House. Hey,
they were like,
that should be the most secure place in the nation. And they're like, sometimes stuff slips by. What are you going to do?
It's hard to
But that girl down in Alabama on the side of a road in the middle of nowhere, we got everything we need.
I mean, are you telling me you couldn't run minimum DNA on it and then check Hunter Biden? They're probably like, it's.
Dude, the fact there's no answer, it's like, come on, man.
All right. So anyway, back to the Egyptians.
Yep.
During this third intermittent period, there is a little bit of issues going on with the Egyptian.
It seems like every time there's an intermediate period, they weaken.
Yep. Well, I think
which is why they don't talk about it very much.
Well, I think that's probably why it gets the name intermediate period. It's not a strong. It's kind of like in between good periods.
Maybe they should call it like the growing period or something. Like spin it up.
But I think probably in this case, it was like
they got overtaken.
Period.
Yeah,
and they're conquered by the Assyrian Empire.
Oof. Assyrian is what?
They're from Assyria.
They're from They are of.
Can you click it?
Oh,
it does look like
I can.
It
is a link.
Does look like you click it. What are this?
Andrew's gonna die.
Ancient
Mesopotamia.
Some bad mamma jammas.
I'll tell you, you don't want to screw with Mesopotamia.
I was gonna say
it's a cradle of life, man.
You go back in the history books, some bad mamma jammas right there.
There you go.
The Tigris. Ooh. Okay.
So the Mesopotamians were like, "We'll take this." I mean,
they just basically just came down and overtook it.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians, now that we've said that, have been in battle. Like that's a that's a thing you know about. Interesting though. Okay. I've never heard it called the Assyrian.
So after they, in the late periods, beginning as the Assyrian leave Egypt and the locals kind of regained their power, the Persians come in and conquer and rule over the next 100 years. So then you have the Persian Empire.
Persians were a problem.
The Persians were a problem.
A lot of people. And 300?
300, dude.
300, yeah.
300.
They had a lot of people.
Yep.
Well, they were like, they were.
And then after that 100 years,
Here he comes.
here you go, the person we keep mentioning.
Alexander
the Great.
That's right, Alexander the Great. And the Greeks conquered Egypt. He found the great city of Alexandria.
I mean,
That's a
try
cool.
a little harder with the name.
He didn't care.
It's like,
At least it's the female version of his name.
Alexandria.
Dude,
I don't know.
could you imagine conquering all that stuff? I mean, dude, that's got to be rough.
Do you ever watch the movie?
Oh, yeah, the one with Colin Farrell. Was it Colin Farrell?
Yeah, when everybody realized that Alexander the Great was like they were just all kind of gay back then.
Yeah.
And that's like the first time people realized it, and they were like, "Hey, man, what's going on with this?" Yeah, I thought he was a warrior. Is he making out with this guy? And we're like, yeah, it's pretty well known that's happened back
Yeah,
then.
they're like,
not my town, not my city. I'll tell you that right now.
but he won a lot of battles. And like, oh,
Did you ever hear how he won so many battles?
no.
No, it's his war strategy. It's the most genius thing ever, and it's so stupid. So
So sneak up and come.
no.
behind.
So he had some different things.
Got him.
Who's kissing my neck?
Oh, Cleopatra.
He's like, call it Alexandria. So they used to fight with like shield and spears.
Right.
And then so like if the spears were 10 foot long, Alexander the Great was like, what if our spears were like 13 feet long? And they were like, wait a minute. So our spears will get to them first? You're like, yeah, I'm tired of this. Everybody has 10-foot spears.
Yeah.
Because we all die at the same time. And then so they just like, everybody's like, their spears are too long.
I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Like, my God.
Yeah, it's
What a
fantastic.
great strat. Was this during the period of like what you see in Troy when they would send out one fighter?
And fight for a king. Fight for
I
a
mean,
rule.
it's probably around the same ballpark.
Right.
But I don't know if that
Did
was
Alexander
I don't know
have
if
like
that-
a guy?
I don't know if
like-
that's like necessarily
He was
exactly
the
what
guy.
really happened.
Do you think he was the guy?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
No. He wasn't. He was.
But I mean, back then at the time, you probably, if you were the top, like if you were the king, you probably had to be the baddest dude around,
Or at
people would
least
just
know,
kill you.
or at least know the baddest guy.
Right, that's what I'm gonna say. Because sometimes the baddest guy is just like, "You got it, boss." You know, like I'll kill somebody right
Do you
now.
know they didn't believe Troy
Like Lenny.
existed until like recently?
What do you mean?
They were like, Troy is a myth. The city of Troy.
Like the city of Troy?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were like, it was a myth for like many years.
Troy's-
They were
I
Troy's
saw
Greek
Eric
mythology?
Bana lead. I saw Eric Bana lead their troops into battle. It's real. I saw it on
Hector,
TV.
yeah, but
Hector.
I was about to say, yeah, Brad Pitt is Troy.
yeah, he is. Troy.
Yeah, he is.
They just call him Troy. He's like, I'm Achilles. It's like, you're Troy.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is a great dude. That movie, when they wake him up,
Bruh.
and they're like, we need you to fight this guy, and he's like, I mean, that's
Yeah,
the best.
I need to watch that
That
again.
guy, that huge guy.
Yeah, and he's
I
just
mean,
like, yeah. After this is over, after we're done going through this list, we'll look up when Troy was discovered because people were like, it's a myth, it doesn't really exist, and then somebody was like excavating, they were like, oh, Troy's right here. It's like a sign that says "Welcome to Troy."
I found it.
Oh, it's right here, guys. It's right here. I didn't even know.
That was talking about pretty women. Cleopatra's coming up, like Helen of Troy. Like,
Yeah.
how like, what do you think?
Dude,
Like,
she must have been a smoke.
that's
show.
what I'm saying. Like, how pretty do you think she was?
She
Like,
must have been
had
a
to be
knockout.
just
But
freaking.
back then, everybody had like diseases and stuff, so she maybe just didn't have like a bunch of diseases.
She might have just been there.
I feel like it would be very underwhelming.
So
You'd be
like,
like,
she
oh.
looked like Warlock the Destroyer, that girl on Instagram, but she didn't have any diseases, and she's like, I can get any man I want.
This is Helen of Troy. Like, oh. No, yeah, she's like, they're like, never mind, I'm not gonna say that.
So yeah,
The Ptolemaic period. Ptolemy. Huh, interesting.
Ptolemy?
Ptolemaic.
All right, let's pull up
Ptolemaic.
Google and let's talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so have you guys ever heard of King Tut? King
Oh,
Tutankhamun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was. They think. Well, they can't be 100% sure. Although they did DNA test them, which is crazy. Recently, they DNA tested Amenhotep and Tutankhamun, and they can prove that they have a direct lineage, but they can't really
Tutankhamun.
prove because there was a lot of like inbreeding back then to keep the bloodlines pure.
So King
Oh,
Tut's
yeah.
really famous because they found his burial.
Yeah, so this is why it's so famous is because after a certain period, a lot of the Egyptian tombs. So the pharaohs were buried with all of their treasures, so
Yeah.
like gold and all this stuff, and so grave robbers would come and steal all that stuff. And so they very rarely found intact mummies and all the riches.
Yeah.
So, but there was a tomb above King Tut's that was flooded, and so like it covered it, and so people didn't know it was there.
Oh.
So an American guy, I forget his name now, but he's the one that discovered it in like the 50s. King Tut, you can search who found King Tut's tomb. Who discovered King Tut's tomb? Howard Carter.
Okay.
So he's an American, and this is a crazy story. So he goes there, and he gets to they think they found the tomb, and they found so many, and none of them have anything in it, and they start knocking through this little wall, and he looks in, and he's like, "There's a bunch of stuff in there," and so he's getting pumped. So it takes him years to excavate, and they get in. And there is so much stuff in there, gold and chariots and all this crazy stuff. And you can go, you can go see King Tut today.
Oh, that's cool.
He's in the museum,
Night
the body,
Museum,
he's
Smithsonian.
in the body, his body's there, his face is uncovered. He's not wrapped up like a mummy. But he wasn't considered
is it the Smithsonian.
No, it's in Egypt.
Oh,
it's
in Egypt.
He's in a museum in Egypt. So. Anyway, this guy finds him, but there's a mummy's curse, they think.
Of course.
So everybody that went into that tomb died. Except for Howard Carter.
How'd he get a pass?
I guess maybe because he was found it, and he was like, all right, but all the rest of these guys die. They died of weird diseases, which could be you just opened a tomb that's been closed for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
There's probably some gross stuff in there, and they probably breathed it in, and they died, which is, pretty. But he's one of the most famous kings, but he was very unimpressive because there's probably some product of inbreeding. So he had a cleft, they can tell he had a cleft lip.
Huh.
He had a clubbed foot, and in his tomb was a bunch of walking sticks. And they did MRIs of his body, and they could see that he had these certain defects. But they depicted him. So that they were putting all the pieces together. So they depicted him to be an Egyptian pharaoh. You had to hunt. It was a thing. So they'd be oh, there's hieroglyphics of him hunting. And they're wait a minute, he's sitting in a chair. So on the actual hieroglyphics, they
he's
showed him
sitting
sitting in a chair because he couldn't walk very well.
So basically, they brought an animal to him and he killed it.
They're pretty sure that that's how all the hunting went back in Pharaoh's days. That they weren't missing their shots, if that makes sense.
So hieroglyphics are pretty cool.
Dude, when you see somebody read them,
that's what I was
you
gonna
just
say.
see a picture, and that there's a documentary, the main Egyptologist guy. He's head of antiquities for Egypt. But you'll see 4 pictures, and he's it says right here, King of the Greatness. And he starts reading it. You're there's 4 pictures there. How could it be 5 paragraphs? How are you possibly reading this?
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's
now,
crazy.
Did they, I could be making this up, but did they use the Rosetta Stone to help understand how to read hieroglyphics?
I mean, let's Google it.
I feel like I've heard that.
Did they use the Rosetta Stone to decipher
Because we found the Rosetta Stone.
I'm not even sure 100% what the Rosetta Stone is, to be honest with you.
The Rosetta Stone is the thing where I think it's the Tower of Babel. They had the different languages.
I mean, we can search that too. Understand King Tut would be fine.
Yeah.
Did they? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you search?
Look at this guy. Maybe I should be an Egyptologist.
Can you search what is the Rosetta Stone? I don't even know what it is. Do you know? Do you really know what it is?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's got all the languages on it.
Yeah, but I don't even know where it came from or anything.
The Tower
I thought
of
it
Babel.
was.
You talking about the software?
Yeah.
I think it's something that they.
whenever
wrote.
you first said it, I was like, God, Mabry's so stupid.
They haven't.
I was like,
Yeah,
did
you
they
named
use
2 language
Rosetta
things. You
Stone?
were like Rosetta Stone and Babel, and you're
Yeah.
like, that's 2 language softwares, Mabry.
I'm like, you think? I almost said, you think
Yeah.
And
that a
also-
computer software called the Rosetta Stone is.
And the Duolingo.
Yeah.
But
The
but
Duolingo
now
Stone?
that's super impressive because now I understand why they called it the Rosetta Stone, the software.
Yeah.
So-
I
so
mean, the
what
same
is-
thing
so
with
where was it
Tower
found?
of Babel.
Yeah.
So they call it Babel because Tower of Babel are all the languages.
But are you saying this
I
is
never
part
put
of the
2 and
Tower of Babel?
So I could no. This
Wait,
is
hold on.
I've been impressive until this point.
It's right here. It's right here.
I was
The
gonna say-
Rosetta Stone is a stele composed
Can't
of
read that.
granodrite inscribed with 3 versions of a decree issued in Memphis, Egypt during the Ptolemaic dynasty. So they found a Rosetta Stone, and that helped them be able to, because it had hieroglyphics on it, they were able to figure out what it was saying. That makes sense. Are you on Duolingo right now?
No.
Oh.
I was going to ask. I was just going to see. Yeah.
What?
No.
He's like, yeah, I'm right. I don't need to go any
I was
further.
going to see if it had anything to do with the Tower of Babel.
It doesn't, right?
No.
It can't, yeah. Because the Tower of Babel would have been much later.
Well, I mean,
When did the Tower of Babel fall?
Well, they was discovered in Egypt. It just says that was discovered in Egypt in 1799. I don't know when it was created though. I mean, Tower of Babel would have been
That was Old Testament, right?
Old Testament.
So it's probably around the same time because
Yeah.
Moses is Old Testament with the
Yeah.
Egyptians. Oh, there's a perfect picture right there.
Yeah.
The top left.
Is this one?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Boom.
Do you guys want to get a Babel Tower tattoo?
It's kind of cool.
Think about it.
You'll think about it. You already have a terrible spider. So.
I do have a terrible spine.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, so King Tut was. So they're not 100% sure if Nefertiti was his mom, or it's some kind of weird inbreeding thing. But they're pretty sure he was inbred in some way, shape, or form. But like the DNA testing is like kind of muddied because
He was a loved king, though, I feel like, because he brought what the people wanted back as far as
Well,
multiple gods.
Yeah, I don't know if
yeah.
I don't know if
What
he
do you
was
call it?
polytheistic, monotheistic.
Is that it? I feel like there's another. I know. You know, I'm thinking of paganism. My brain was totally
Okay.
off there. You're right. I
But
don't know. I was like, there's a word. But it's pagan. Never mind.
Yeah, he was like
But
he
Nordic.
was like young when he got in charge. So
Okay.
I don't know if he was like. I mean, nobody knows. So just when I'm
Right.
watching a documentary, I get like super into it, and then I have to realize like, well, these guys are just guessing.
Right.
They really don't have any idea because they don't.
That frustrates the crap out
So
of
they're
me,
like
man.
because people are like, oh, the pyramids were made to
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily the case. That's not really what they were built for. But that's just somebody saying that. They weren't there, so they don't really know.
Like the story of Pompeii, I think that's a very interesting thing. But like the whole city was like a volcano erupted on it. Like, so, like, you know, it just feels like, how do they know exactly? Like,
Well, they found people.
Right, I know they found
Oh.
people, but they feel like there's like a story, and they made a movie about
Are
it.
you
They
a
like
Pompeii denier?
No, I'm saying like they
You're like that volcano never erupted.
they have like stories based about like what was happening right before it, and I'm like, that's complete guesswork.
No,
But
they don't know.
That's what I'm saying, because like I mean everything is burnt to a crisp.
These
man.
people were playing soccer and having a great time before they died.
Yeah, because I mean, they even made a movie about the storyline before Pompeii exploded. I'm like, yeah, this is fictional.
I just realized that there was a pizza place in my hometown called Pompeii's Pizza. That's in bad taste.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they're like we'll never burn it. Like,
So the top of this stone
yeah,
or pyramid.
yeah, that was really loud.
Was it?
Was that loud in your ears?
I don't think so. Maybe.
I've made more attention about it now. Than
No.
sorry.
But it still has like a different type of rock on it. Is that the limestone?
Well, I think the limestone is like, I'm gonna say it this way. Like think of like a countertop in your house,
Right.
Yeah.
like smooth like that.
Okay. So this is maybe, but I'm just thinking over
that
thousands
a
of
That's
years.
probably closer. Yeah, yeah.
Is that a repair job there? What is
Well,
that?
so they repaired them. We don't know. I don't know. That could just be something left. Like that's pretty high up there. Like maybe the guys were like, I'm not going up there to get that stuff.
So you're saying that the kings and pharaohs weren't buried in these pyramids?
I don't know. Can you search? I don't know if any of them were. Can you search? Are any?
What's in
king-
them?
Well, no,
Pyramids.
the only reason I ask is because like
Can you
think
search-
about these guys, like these little guys,
Those little
down there.
turds.
Yeah.
Who's buried in there? Like some
Yeah.
jerk.
Who's there?
Can you search? Are any king or any pharaohs buried in the pyramids?
The guy's like on his deathbed. He's like, I saw my pyramid. It's not very high. Are you guys? Oh yeah, no, it's gonna get much higher.
Oh yeah, trust me. We're gonna keep building it.
Yeah, he dies. Like,
Yeah, they're like, he's
Sorry.
dead, dude. He's not gonna know.
throw him in there.
Could you imagine being so narcissistic that you're like, I would like my burial chamber to be all the way to the sky? Like, when are you going to die? I'm not sure. It could be 20 years, but I'd like it to be done now.
Could you imagine like how much?
Oh,
fun?
they were. Sorry.
No, you're good.
They're buried underneath the pyramids. No, so not
Yeah.
on top.
So that's the worst. They're like, so you want us to bury you and then build this huge structure?
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah,
we'll start as soon
totally
as you're
do
dead.
So the other thing is, the crazy thing about the pyramids is why people argue about it is because they said it took them 20 years. But if you think about moving, like how many stones could you set? Somebody did something like if you set 2 of those stones a day, which are gigantic, it would take you like 100 million years to build the pyramids, like something crazy because it's too.
So like whenever someone starts that, like what?
Dude, could you imagine?
Like a king starts it, is like I can't wait to see this finished.
Do you know when you're mowing your
If it
grass?
took them 20 years, they're just watching it. They're
So
like,
Caleb may understand this because he's got some acreage. When you cut your first path, you pour.
It feels unnecessary, but okay.
Do you know when you make your first cut in the grass and you're like, it's been a long day, you've had a long day at work, and you're like, my God, there's so much to go. Could you imagine being the first guy to pull the stone into place and being like, oh my God, it took us all day.
well, not then. If they did it in 20 years, they must have been rolling stones.
I mean, dude, do you think, there's
20
some kind
years?
do you guys agree that there's some kind of technology behind here that we don't know about? There's got to be.
I mean, just the preciseness of it.
Hard work.
Pays off.
Yeah, man.
They ate chicken and rice every day. They never gave up. They never surrendered.
Would it be...
They lifted weights just so they could lift
Well,
these.
they had King Tut. I'm going to say, would it be cool if they had like MRIs and people were like bigger and stronger back then? But it's quite the opposite. People were smaller.
Well, I mean,
and
he
weaker.
was a different.
Right. He was but
a
I would
weakling,
say they found like normal people, and it would indicate that we've talked about this before. Like it would, like people were smaller and weaker back then.
They were. I don't know if it's this.
Because like we talked about George Washington being 6'4" that one time, and that was like really
he ran a
big.
4.240.
He did.
Well,
he was fast.
I mean,
Do you also know that when they were constructing pyramids, they basically built little towns around the bottom of them, whatever they were building, like the King's Valley,
That would make sense.
or the Valley of the Kings.
yeah.
That's like building these oil lines right now. They basically
They found like little houses where they could bring their families, and they were like, "Listen, you guys are gonna be out here long."
basically your entire lives.
This is gonna be a fun project for you.
I also found out the other day that being an archaeologist in Egypt
Yeah.
could possibly be the easiest job I've ever seen in my life.
Mm.
So basically, you pay all these Egyptian dudes probably nothing. They dig all day long, and then they're like, "We found something," and he comes over and he's like, "We've done it. We found it. We found it." And
This sounds a lot like
have you ever seen
the.
Indiana Jones?
what's that?
Have you ever seen Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
It gets pretty tough.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. Can you search Zawi?
Oh boy.
Oh my god.
Search Hawass, Hawas. Hawass, Egypt. Zahi Hawass. There it is.
Where? Oh, down here.
No.
Oh.
It was the first search. That's the guy. Zahi Hawass. So that's like the main Egyptologist guy. Like he's the one that's like hates that an American found King Tut. He's like Egyptians need to find stuff from now on.
Gotcha.
But look how old he is.
He looks like a
He can
bullfrog.
barely walk, and he's like, "We're gonna find this." But he's not. He gets a
Yeah, he's
paintbrush, and he's like, "We've done it. This is a king." And there's like 30 sweating guys. Like, "You've done it. You've done it, boss. You've done it." He basically takes a map. This is not a joke. He takes a map, and he's like, "We need to find another tomb. Let's dig."
They're like, hold on, think about it. And the foreman.
They're like, hey, why are we digging here? He's like,
Because we didn't find stuff over there.
yeah.
We dug over there and nothing. Now we'll
Foreman's
try over
like,
here.
hey man, what's your
He's got-
strategy here?
He's got tic-tac-toe boards drawn on his
He's like,
map.
I'm trying to get bingo.
And if you see the total energy that the guys that are digging, like the laborers, they're working literally like their lives depend on it, and then he just takes all the glory. There's a guy literally down in they call them burial shafts. I mean, it's probably 20 feet down.
Jeez.
And do you want to know how they lower him down? Not a super safe way. It's like this big wooden structure, and they're like, "You should be fine." He's not tied into anything. And then he's down there digging, and then they're like, "All right, we found something." And then they gently, like with 7 people, lower the archaeologist down in there. Then he brushes it for 8 seconds. He's like, "This is definitely a skull of a king." And then everybody cheers for him, and he's like, I'm the best." And then they put him in a bucket, bring him back up, and he goes back and sits in his air-conditioned car while everybody keeps digging.
How mad? So like, obviously he's like the head honcho. So how mad would he get if they're like, "Oh, we think we found something," and he goes down there, he brushes it off, and he's like, "This is a lizard skull."
Like some
Like,
idiot.
yeah, and he just pushes him off and dies. Like,
He's like, we found it. It's something you're gonna want to see. It's just like a piece of wood. He's like, "You idiot! You know how much work I put into this, and you're gonna bring me down with this kind of stuff?" Like he literally They found a burial chamber somewhere. Like it was some guy. So the chamber's huge, and they think so. Basically, it's his thing, and then there's 5 covered up chambers.
Yeah.
So totally covered. He's like, well, I guess we got to dig down all these deep burial chambers. He's like, we'll start with this one. I'll see you guys later. And then he just walks off. And then he doesn't come back till it's done. It's like the easiest. I don't even know how you get that job.
Yeah.
Like,
we
what's
messed
the
up.
science behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's got to just study a bunch of
Are those
stuff.
guys being paid at all or no?
Those guys?
The Egyptian, like the
Yeah, I mean,
people that hire.
I promise you, I bet
laborers.
you it's not as what you want it to be. Because those guys are literally, they give them a little pail. And they're just like, keep filling this up and running it over there until you find something. And they're working like as hard as they possibly can. They're like scooping dirt in and they're running and then they never stop for days and days and days. And then they show like pans of like, they're like day 1. And they're just like, they've dug like 3 inches. And then they're like day 4 and they're like 18 feet down. I'm like, my God, these guys are, we're only going to talk about this guy. How about the guys that are 18 feet in the hole?
These guys are amazing.
Yeah.
He's
I mean, it's
like,
unbelievable.
well, guys, I think it was a really good effort by me.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
He gets all the glory. These guys go home and they have nothing. And they're like, we found a mummy that's been dead for 5,000 years. And they're like, oh, cool. Are you going to get any money for it? And they're like, no, because that guy did most of the work. He really had to point at the map. And then he went to his car for a long time. And then we dug it. But then he was like, yes, this is something. So
It's like being a side personnel on like one of these sport teams.
Yeah.
They're like Derrick Henry is the greatest running back to ever live on the planet. And he's like, oh, I was his athletic trainer for 2 years. He's like, who are you?
yeah,
He's like, we only talk about that one person.
it's like the offensive
I was gonna
linemen
say
are
offensive
like,
line.
we help too. And they're like, shut up, man. Derrick
the
Henry's
difference is
unbelievable.
the offensive linemen get paid millions of
They
dollars.
do, they do.
That's
These
true.
guys are not getting paid millions of dollars. Yeah,
This
so
guy looks like a bullfrog.
this guy he can't walk very well, but he's in like every Egyptian.
Well, apparently he is Indiana Jones. That's who he is.
They do think that part of him
Dun,
is made after Indiana Jones, but he didn't do any cool stuff.
The one that
the part that he's an archaeologist.
Yeah, the part that he's an
that part.
archaeologist.
And he wears that
Can you
hat,
search
and they're
who
like-
did who had an affair with Cleopatra?
What a turn.
Cleopatra. Nice, Caleb. Mark Antony. That was it. Mark
Ah.
Antony.
Mark Anthony. Is this what she looked like? Really?
Yep, that's her. That's a photo from the day. Yep, that's actually them. Yeah, they got pretty mad about this.
Anthony. I mean,
Oh, she had love affairs with 2 Roman rulers,
Oh,
Julius
Caesar.
Caesar and Mark Anthony.
Yeah. They were not happy about that.
Cleo.
The
Girl.
Romans
Kind of a
or
skank.
the Egyptians?
I don't think anybody was happy about it.
Yeah,
if I'm
pick-
being honest.
Yeah, pick your poison.
Yeah.
Man, what a skank.
Are we allowed to say that?
Maybe we
I
can.
can't.
You guys were both saying it. So I was
Yeah,
just
you
wondering.
definitely. No, you can't.
Apparently, I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Isn't
no.
Mark Antony like a super normal name to be like that long
Well,
ago?
it bothers me
That
it's
in that like time range?
Anthony. It's not Anthony, so it's Anthony. So
then somebody was like-
bothersome.
But his name's Mark.
yeah, true. Mark.
Like
is
Mark's the guy that you hired to sit at like a front
Like,
desk
if-
somewhere.
if his
Mark,
name was-
what's up, man? He's
if-
like, what's up?
If I told you the same story, but I was like, Steve Anthony
It's like,
had an affair with Cleopatra, you're like, Steve?
it's like Steve from accountant.
That is a good point. Old Mark.
Oh,
I don't know, because every time you hear you think his name was so lame, they're like, you have to say his first and last name. But
They're-
you say that,
they're
but you
just
say
like-
Caesar.
they're like, this is Julius Caesar, Mark Anthony.
And his buddy
Who was-
Mark.
Who was Mark Anthony? Was he a ruler?
I think so.
Was he just a dude?
Search who is Mark Anthony.
Was Mark Anthony the one that led the betrayal of Julius Caesar?
The
Stab-
what now?
Betrayal?
That was Brutus.
Brutus.
A2 Brute.
Brute.
A2
Yep.
Brute.
That's right.
I don't think he
Oh, he's
killed
got statues about him.
Yeah, he looks like a
Nerd.
dummy. Yeah, he looks like a dummy.
I mean, his name is Mark, for goodness sakes.
Roman general under Julius Caesar.
Oh, okay. So he was
Oh,
a general.
that's what happened. Julius Caesar was like, don't you be sleeping with my side piece. And he was like, oh, my name's Mark.
Mark.
I get it done.
I'm that dog out there winning fights.
Dog.
Oh, this spells it Antonius. That sounds more likely. Marcus Antonius,
That's
That
the
was
worst.
his
commonly
real
known
name?
as English as Mark Antony.
Oh, are you telling me
Right
that
here.
his real name is... Wow.
Search how did Mark Antony die? Because I'm guessing he got killed because of that. It's always a girl causing the, you know what I mean?
Hey,
You know
I
what I
hear
mean?
you. You telling me that we have dumbed down his name? That's like
He
when
killed
that-
himself.
Stabbed himself with a sword. Yeah. and then brought to die in Cleopatra's arms. Oh, it's Romeo and Juliet.
Oh.
No, it's not.
No, I know. But
Oh wait, so just to be clear, both Mark Antony and Cleopatra were like, "We'll kill each other if we can't be together," and then he did it, and she was like, "Nah." That was a close one. She's
You
like,
think-
Julius Caesar.
but Julius Caesar.
But do you
and
think
Mark
it was suicide, or do you think it was? Hey,
Cleopatra's
let's.
like, we were both gonna do it.
Yeah. Promise.
Yeah, that's right. It's like Julius Caesar. You let me help you rule this empire.
Julius Caesar,
So
I'll
wait.
suck your.
So wait, Mark Anthony and
Marcus Antonius.
yeah, thank you. That's actually Marcus Antonius.
That sounds better
well. I mean,
for a Roman Empire. Like
that's like when someone like my name's Felipe, but you can call me Philip. Like, nah, man, I call you Felipe. Like, come on. It's like why do they do that? Marcus Antonius and Julius Caesar. What was who died first there?
Who?
Mark
Mark Antony or Caesar?
Yeah.
I don't know if
think-
Caesar.
That's what I'm saying. Did
So-
Cleopatra? Is Cleopatra the reason that
How
Julius
did-
Caesar? Is she sleeping with Brutus too?
This may be. Wait,
She's like, Brutus, why don't you kill Julius Caesar?
it wasn't Julius Caesar that he killed, was it? That was right.
Brutus, yeah.
Now, was it Julius Caesar?
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell.
Caesar, like Caesar salad.
Yeah, I meant Julius. He's not telling me here.
Search how did Julius Caesar die? Did you know that seizure is from Julius Caesar because he had an issue with seizures?
Assassination.
Mm-hmm.
Foreman,
That's it.
40
Yeah, you're
Roman
right.
senators.
That's it. Yeah, Julius Caesar. That was the Ides of March. That's Brutus. Yep. Nice,
Brutus.
nice, dude. So, from my
so what
understanding,
happened
from my understanding, they did not like Julius Caesar very much.
Right.
And they were like, we need to get a crew together and take this guy out. And they were like, it's going to be pretty hard. But he was like a super big jerk and like didn't care. And he was like trying to be like a god. And so they were like, hey, Brutus, you should totally, he's a jerk, man. You should totally stab him. And he was like, it was like his son or like stepson or something. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. But then all these dudes, so the best part is, he has like 40 stab wounds that are superficial. He would have survived, and the only one that actually killed him was Brutus's. Like everybody else was like, "Yeah, we'll totally kill him with you." Brutus like, "Ah!"
You got this coming.
You guys stabbed him deep too, right? And they're like, "Yeah, totally, man. It's totally all of our faults together. Definitely, we're not going to blame it on you for sure. 100%, 100%." Cool.
I don't even know how you prove any of that. Like,
Well, they had DNA testing back then.
But if you kill him, is it like you keep what you kill back then?
Like,
you think they ate him?
you think they?
No, I
ate
meant like does Brutus become Caesar?
I don't think
I
that's
thought you
what
meant like a roadkill type situation.
it?
That would be awesome if we went back to those days.
Can you search? Did Julius Caesar
Eat
kill?
what you kill.
Can you search? Did Julius Caesar kill Mark Antony? Or did he cause his death? Oh, I'm sure it'll say. Caesar kill Jesus. somebody was like, "Who killed Jesus? Was it Julius Caesar?"
Caesar's like, oh, good Jesus.
It says the two committed suicide after their defeat by Octavian.
Okay, I guess we'll search.
This is going.
Octavian took over after Julius Caesar. I'm pretty sure. After they killed Julius
That
Caesar.
sounds right.
So
Mark
Octavian defeated them.
So
Yeah, he
Mark
was-
Anthony
Some weird
outlived
triangle.
Caesar.
I
Though.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's just to tie a ribbon on this. Let's search. When did they discover the city of Troy? Since we talked about that earlier.
That's a good point. There's some unanswered questions here.
People want to know.
Yeah.
I know somebody's listening right now is like, when are they going to get to the Troy thing?
1871.
Dude,
That's
right?
crazy.
They were like, it doesn't exist. And then
Wait a second.
1871, they were like, found it.
All right. All right. That is actually pretty interesting.
That's crazy, right?
That's
is
AD, right?
out of
That's
all
AD.
the things
That's
I
not
said-
1871 BC.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So you're saying out of all the crazy things I said today that you're like,
The fact that they
They found
realized that Troy's a real place in
Wait, so you-
1871.
So you think that 1871 Troy, wouldn't that still be a thriving place?
like BC?
No,
Oh, AD.
yeah, BC.
Oh, BC. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Maybe's like this is
found
AD,
it.
right?
It's
Not
a real-
BC.
It's a
It's
real.
like-
They're like, yeah, of course we found it. It's right here.
It's like, that's over 3,000 years ago.
My goodness. Yeah, good point. It'd be like they found it when they went to go try and conquer it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so people like Homer wrote like about Troy, and people were like, "That can't be real. They couldn't have had somebody that good at fighting." And then Achilles, because Achilles
Right.
existed and he really was super powerful. Obviously,
Right.
it's a real thing that happened. They found his
Hercules. Yeah.
They found his Achilles tendon, and they were like, "This is the weakest part of his body, right here." They found it. They did DNA testing on it.
They shot it with an
They're
arrow.
like, this is
23andMe. They were like,
It's like, man, you're like part god or something.
yeah, "My God, the rest of you."
that hill, man.
Do you ever hear the joke that Louis C.K. does that
Oh,
kids
boy.
kids are never like thankful for their parents, like that that Achilles
know what you're talking
Achilles' mother dipped him in except for his heel, and then he got shot in the heel, and he was like, "Dang it, Mom, you didn't dip my heel, stupid."
Honestly, though, if you think about like you're dipping your baby in water, right?
Yeah,
And you don't dip his heel in.
yeah.
Why would you not like turn it around and not dip its head in?
Dip the
like,
other thing.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you.
or
If you
hold it like that.
if you cut my Achilles and my heel off right now, I'd live.
You would live.
So I don't understand why that's a.
Well, I think it hit him and it lost his powers,
Fake.
right?
What's that?
I'm just saying, if you really break it down, though, that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well,
I know
then
it's not real.
Well, so you're saying that from our understanding of medicine, that like you understand that if you had diarrhea back then, you were dead.
Well, I'm just saying
you
you
weren't
could-
gonna make it.
you could cut your
But the
foot off
blood-
and then
but
put
the
a
blood
burn.
loss.
But you could just cut your foot off, put a flaming sword, some fire, caught her.
They didn't
eyes,
know
those-
that though. I don't think.
Dude,
I
dude,
feel
so
like
maybe.
they- I don't know,
you're like,
maybe.
why did he just? He should
There's
just
so
went
I'm
to
just
the
saying,
doctor.
dude. There's a lot of things in life that could kill you, but even back then, a heel accident doesn't seem like that's like, oh man.
Dude, even
it got
in
me.
the First World War, if you got shot in the leg, they were like, cut that sucker. They didn't have anything for it. They were just like, cut it off. So could you imagine reverse of that 3,000 years ago? They were probably like, well, he's never gonna. They probably just left him there.
You have
If-
any kind of wound?
If an arrow,
Yeah.
dude, if you
They're
stub,
like, oh, it's actually,
I'll be
okay. They're like,
It's
put him down. You stub your toe out there, and you're like, don't tell anybody, man. They're gonna kill. Don't tell anybody.
if you tell me I want to kill you, it's like you're gonna be dead.
I broke my finger.
yeah.
Say goodbye.
We'll kill you now to put you out of your misery. He's like, no, it's fine. Just put it back in place. It's only dislocated. They're like, you'll never come back from this.
And then they had to overcompensate, and that's why we have people like the guy from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
It's a mere flesh wound.
I mean, if you think about it, back then, like all the battles and stuff, if you were a guy that was like notorious for like being good in battle, I mean, dude, you had to be just one, a bad dude, and two,
Yeah.
lucky as all get out. When they send those flying arrows, I mean, could you imagine just like,
Well, I think
oh man,
I'm
I'm like really good at fighting too. This is unfortunate.
I think their best fighters, they don't actually put them in war because back then they would do the 1-on-1 for like a kingdom basically. So like they would
Oh,
probably
yeah,
keep
that
them
guy.
out of war
Yeah,
so
that
they
guy.
wouldn't get injured or
Are
hurt
you-
at all.
Are you guessing, or is this a fact?
This is a guess.
Oh, okay. I was
And-
like, my God.
And
But I mean, he's right. Think about
But,
it. Like if you
yeah,
had,
if you
like,
think about it,
that guy.
you have a prize fighter. You're not gonna put them against like all these
With the schlubs.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
schlubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna put your worst people out there and let them figure it out.
Idiots. You guys will be fine.
But
I
yeah,
mean-
I mean, heck, they probably have like a few fighters that they kept like that. They're like, oh, these are our like top 3 fighters for
Yeah.
the kingdom, and then
that would make sense.
and
but
then they
it's
only
also-
fight like maybe 3 times in a lifetime.
You're just sitting there and you're the guy on the front line. You're just like, I mean, there's
If
a
I
lot-
just practiced harder as a child,
there's a lot of outcomes that can come out of this. But I just don't see me coming out. It's a lot. I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of people will live today. I just find it hard to believe I'm going to be one of the people.
he's holding a spear. He's looking up. He's like, "Hey, hold on, is that a 13-foot spear?" he's like,
Hey, I'm not one to be insecure, but their spears look bigger than our spears. Hey, man.
The general's like, it's an optical illusion. I'm sure when we get closer, they won't be longer.
My wife told me our spears are plenty big. All right?
Another guy down there was like, "That's what she said." He's like,
There's one guy with
Shut
like,
up.
There's one special guy with like a 3-foot spear, and they're like, "You'll be fine, bub." He's like, "But they can't." He's like, "You're good, man. Go out there and take him down."
he's like, "I just have a sword." It's like,
But isn't that cool though? Like, but it's also weird how they were like, let's just face each other front on. But isn't that cool? Like back in the day, like people just
That's
fight.
the other thing about Alexander the Great. That the reason he won so many wars is like they would come up to like this, like to get. If you're watching, my hands are coming together.
Yeah.
Like they would face each other, and then Alexander was like, "What if we took 2 units and went around the side?" And people were like, "That'll never work."
You're saying that he almost the side or trying to get into the
He didn't
rear.
go in the back door. I mean, I think if he could have got there, he would have tried it. But I think there was some resistance.
There's Always
There's
resistance.
always resistance. Yeah. So he basically took his crews and like, so they would like fight.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like head to head, and the guys were like, "Their spears are longer. They're coming from the side. What should we do?"
Other generals
like,
I've never seen this.
Everybody,
This is
the general's like, everybody killed themselves. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy that that's how they fought for. It feels like too long. Like
Yeah.
you know, that just doesn't seem like a good strategy. But I,
mean,
think back then it was a lot about like who's the best. You know, it was almost like insulting to pull cheap tricks out. Like
Yeah.
you come from the side, like it's like a cheap trick.
it'd be like if you got sucker punched in the back of the head.
Spartans were a part of the Roman Empire, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, Sparta would be like
They were the
Greek.
same time like Athens.
Yeah,
So I guess it would be Roman Empire. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
they were. Yeah,
They were like their elite like
Well,
force.
they were different. They were different. Sparta was like its own town. So like Athens and then Sparta, and I think they were governed by themselves. Like, and they-
Oh, so they
I
weren't
wonder-
a part of the Roman
can you
Empire.
search? Can you search that? I'm interested now. Was Sparta?
I
part of
think
the
they
Roman
still. I think they still answered to like
Caesar,
maybe. I think so. I could be wrong about that, but they were.
the Roman Empire.
They're.
Yes, Rome conquered Sparta and the rest of Greece. And oh boy,
But even with Sparta's like superior tactical advantage, they were still. It's like a small country, and when the Roman Empire, like,
it was like
they're like. I mean, that's
we have 300 elite fighters. Like that's cool. We have like we have like 5 million dudes we're gonna throw at you.
I mean, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, just like and they're like, this is Sparta. We're like, we don't really.
Is
We don't care.
the story of 300?
This is the
where
Roman
they-
Empire.
obviously, it's been embellished if it's true, but is that a true story with 300 and they met the
I'm about
Persians?
to blow your mind.
It's obviously
The-
embellished. I
This
understand that.
300 is based off of a battle called the Battle of Thermopylae.
Okay.
That actually,
it's based off
the
of some kind of truth,
300
right.
fought Persian.
God, that's a good movie.
That's amazing. We need to watch
Dude,
Battle of
that-
Thermopylae. There it is.
I mean, that is a freaking fantastic movie.
Battle of Thermopylae.
They even have pictures of 300.
Yeah, they're all naked.
Well, the Spartans fought naked. They were like, look at this. You want this?
We have 2 swords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to start with? And Alexander the Great was like, I know which one I'm going to start with.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, it's too close to my face. I fell down.
This is Sparta.
Yeah, so that's the Battle of Thermopylae is a pretty interesting story. They were just like, hey, the Persian army has like 1 million people. You guys want to try to fight them? They're like, yeah. Do you want to take like 300, 300 or 400 guys? That should be good.
That should
Yeah.
be enough.
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, that should be fine.
Can't help but feel like one of my ancestors was in charge of this. Like, we could take them.
Yeah, that's your guys?
Yeah, we're
Well, they got
300.
elephants. You're like, I can kill an elephant.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I'd kill an elephant with my bare hands.
What,
I can kill a blue whale. You think I can't kill an
it's
elephant?
like,
Mabrius.
it's like 3.
Mabryism.
Mabrius Cookus.
Maybe it's cookies. We can take them, guys.
Who's going to lead the army? I'm going to be honest with you. This guy's a psychopath. I mean, at least he's gonna get the troops motivated. It's like
They're gonna be
they're gonna come in
motivated?
with 5 million troops and 1 million elephants, and we're not gonna be able to kill them. First off, let me tell you right now, you slit an elephant's throat, it's dead.
Yeah.
That's useless.
He's like, let me tell you
Trust
something.
me.
They're like,
You
we're
cut an
sti-
elephant's trunk off,
He's like,
it's
these-
gonna bleed out.
Those guys are like, look, we'll actually get a real strategy why this guy goes off and do that. He's like, they're gonna actually kill some of these people. They'll do some damage, and when they're dead, it'll give us enough time to actually come up with a real plan and defend ourselves against the Persians.
So you're just like a distraction.
They're like, you can do
Or
it.
they come
Maybe.
with
They're
a
like,
better-
maybe it's cookies.
Mabrius
Mabry's
Cookus.
cookies.
They're like, you can do it.
Are
And
you
they're
not
like,
entertained?
You just add a U.S. to all of our names if we
If
become
this-
Roman.
Cabulus.
Cabulus Whitneyus.
Calebus Whitneyus.
Cabulus Whitneyus.
Dustinus.
Dustinus.
Labarnus.
Labarnus.
That's hard.
I really like the fact that we're taking all these different time periods and we're basically morphing
Oh,
them
dude.
into one. And if anybody's interested in like history, they're gonna be like, these guys are.
They're the
dumb.
worst.
They're the
We're like,
worst.
do you guys remember when Troy in Egypt, King Tut was fighting Alexander the Great, and then the movie 300.
I'll be honest.
It's a combination of real stuff and movies, our opinions,
We're both like, but also Brad Pitt.
and then we threw in some political stuff in there. We're talking about.
There was a good while where Caleb has on track with timelines and
Yeah.
facts about Egypt, and then there started getting some stuff thrown in from different angles. And at this point, it's hard to tell what timeline we're in, what country we're in.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're tuning in to actually learn about like ancient Egypt in these different timelines?
We've just grouped all
You
of
came
history.
to the wrong podcast.
We've grouped all of history into one time frame and then said they all fought each other. Is basically what we did. You guys remember when Amenhotep hand to hand with all of Troy?
Oh, you know, it's a good idea. We should do an empire draft sometime. Oh, we'll do that. We'll have to do that next time,
Dude.
Who would I take first? Who would you take first? Well, it's okay. It's okay. It'll get the people pumped.
Okay.
Who would you take first?
I mean,
If you had first pick, what empire are you taking first?
I mean, Genghis Khan had the most
I'm
body
taking
counts.
Genghis Khan first.
That's pretty good.
That's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's
I know who Mabry's taking.
Who am I taking?
Do you want him to say it? Do you want? Are you sure you want him to answer that?
I'm not taking that empire.
If we do it, Mabry's second. He's like, oh, Caleb took the wrong one, and I guess I'll go with Hitler. Okay, I guess. I mean, we're like, no, there's plenty of other ones you could take. He's like, no. Caleb took the one that I wanted. I'm all
set.
confused now.
I'll just
Or
take this.
if Caleb takes Nazi Germany first, Mabry's like, Dad, come on. I mean, Genghis Khan.
I guess I'll take Genghis Khan. Yeah, Genghis Khan, I mean, bad dude.
Andrew's
Got a
gonna
high body count.
Andrew's gonna take like the most obscure one, and he's gonna
Napoleon Dynamite.
He's gonna say something. He's gonna say something wrong and be like, "Dude, that's
Well,
not.
yeah.
It's not real." He's
You
like,
didn't
I'm
think about this.
"If you
I'll
think
take the
about it,
yeah.
um,
You think about it, he was really short, and he actually committed a lot of stuff for how short he was.
if we're going straight body count,
I mean, Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan
Dude.
is the goat.
Dude,
Yeah. I mean,
nobody's gonna pass him.
Nobody.
Alexander
Hopefully.
Great.
God, I
If
hope.
somebody does, it's a
God,
problem.
I hope, man. If somebody passes him, it's a problem.
Alexander Great had one, but
Great empire. Good empire.
was it Xerxes, the Persian? And I know it's based on. I was just thinking because we're talking about 300, but that's a real Persian empire.
that's a good
Actually,
empire.
did have
That's
a
a good
good,
empire.
pretty good empire.
It's a good empire.
I'm trying to think of
Kobe
someone.
Bryant,
We should
Michael Jordan.
we should do some research and actually come up with like
Yeah, that's probably
The
right.
best
Or
empires
we
of
keep
all-
making up.
we just keep
what we think.
the Empire of LeBron
Oh,
James.
you know what would
Or-
be better? We pick armies,
I've
like from
already-
different time periods.
That's probably smart.
You ignorant. I got it. It's the Empire from Star Wars. That's
Yeah,
the best
well,
one.
that's the Galactic Empire. That's
the
not fair. You can't pick them.
I just did.
They got space and stuff.
Okay, then I'm picking Luke Skywalker, idiot.
But I'm picking the Empire before he was born. So you don't
But then
count yet.
he's easily taken out by a guy that's only shot foxholes in a rat thing or whatever.
It is a problem. But we learned about that in Rogue One. Why that? Because I mean that always bothered me. I was like, why?
Yeah.
But it makes sense once you watch Rogue One.
So we should do greatest armies of all time. Like you could pick
Armies or
general,
empires?
like George. That's what I'm saying. Armies. Armies would be easier because you could just be like this, like Genghis Khan's army from this time period.
Okay.
And you could be like General Patton's army from whatever, which would pales in comparison to Genghis Khan.
Yeah, you threw out like you threw out like Genghis Khan is like up here, and then you're like General.
You're not picking an army that's been in like with rules of war. You got to pick like an old army that was like.
What if you choose like an old army, like or a losing army?
Yeah.
Like
You're like
the losing side.
Maybe it's like the South.
Oh boy.
Maybe you know that they lost. Like it's still up for debate. We're not 100% sure yet. It's still going on.
Maybe yeah. Mabry's list consists of the South, Germany.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, these are all losers, right? He's like,
Neighbors like, can I combine two time periods? And we're like, I guess. He's like, First, Second World War, Germany. Like, my God, choose something else.
Got him.
Yeah, got you guys. There's no way you can beat us.
It's like you lost.
I just want to we can end this, but I just want to let you guys know that I barely brought up any alien stuff.
You did.
Good job,
I'm
man.
proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me do this again.
Oh.
I just want to let you guys know that I barely brought up any alien stuff.
nice.
Well done.
I like it. Well done.
But they did probably build the pyramids.
All right, we'll end with that.
if
Well,
I'm being
with that.
honest. Okay. This was fun. Andrew, thanks for not being here because it gave us a chance to really cut loose. All right, guys. This has been... Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Andrew does this faster than me. That's what she said.
Wait, it depends on what it is.
Sex.
No.
Yeah.
Or Never mind.
Okay.
Good thing.
All right, guys, this has been. Oh boy, you can't say that.
You can't.
Why?
say that.
You just got Nate Bargatze ruled at the end of the episode.
The last second.
No, we'll drink it.
You were what?
We'll drink
You said we'll drink it.
Yeah, I'll drink it.
Okay. All right, this has been Reaching for the Bars podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Peace.